You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia, home of Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks, weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern, right here on The Key and YouTube.com at Braves Country.
Tom has been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. And I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. I was really starting to worry.
Levi and I talked about how it would change our lives, but he was there beside me.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Hey folks, this is Mark White with The Mark White Show, and you can tune into The Mark White Show every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. right here on Rock 99 WQEE The Key, the home of Southern sports and talk.
Are you looking for a reliable dental practice that not only cares about your teeth, but is friendly to work with? How about one that offers great deals and new patient promotions? Well, your search is over. Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton, Georgia is committed to giving you the biggest and brightest smile. Right now, get a $99 new patient special, including x-rays and exam. Maybe you're looking for veneers. Most Valuable Smiles veneer special includes one free veneer with every 5 purchased. Or get that bright white smile you've always wanted by taking advantage of an exclusive $100 off Zoom whitening treatment when you book today. And don't forget that 2022 is almost over. That means most insurance policies will reset by the new year, and to avoid losing that extra money, you need to use it or lose it. Book an appointment today with Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton to lock in these exclusive deals. Call 706-623-0318 or visit mostvaluablesmiles.com.
Enjoy sun-drenched days, epic stays, and plenty of room to roam in Greater Fort Lauderdale. Our hotels, attractions, and restaurants have taken the Visit Lauderdale's Safe and Clean pledge, so you can relax and explore with confidence. When you're ready for that well-deserved staycation, our 23 miles of golden beaches await. Find wide-open spaces to hike, bike, kayak, and paddleboard. Visit your favorite attractions, then dine out in style in dining rooms or al fresco on waterfront patios. Learn more at sunny.org.
It all starts with just one thing. When recycling, rinse out jars and cans, and avoid recycling wax paper or paper soiled with food. This will reduce recycling contamination. Find tips and more at onethingus.com. What's your one thing?
Hey sports fans, The Key has a brand new show. Braves Country is coming your way weekdays 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern. Drive time on WQEE. Braves Country is a Southern sports talk show with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. We'll be talking the Atlanta Braves and Major League Baseball, along with everything important to sports fans in Braves Country. The SEC, ACC, Big Ten, and the National Football League, and the big sports news of the day. That's Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. Weekdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. right here on WQEE The Key, 99.1 FM, and simulcasting on youtube.com/@Braves Country.
At Shell, we know from the time you get up to the time you wrap up,
good night,
there's a lot of meetups, eat-ups, and hurry-ups. So come to Shell and get 3 things done at once. Fill up with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus to help keep your engine running like new. Save up with the Fuel Rewards program and never pay full price for gas again. And snack up with in-store rewards to save even more at the pump. Make the most of the stop you need to make with Shell. And engines that continuously use Shell V-Power Nitro Plus premium gasoline. See full terms and conditions at fuelrewards.com.
That's the sound of NyQuil Severe hard at work. NyQuil Severe is the best sleep with a cold medicine. No tossing and turning, just rest and recovery. So you're ready to take on tomorrow. For powerful relief of your worst cold and flu symptoms, try NyQuil Severe. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, best sleep with a cold medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Hey, Braves fans, thank you for listening to Braves Country Baseball. Hi, I'm Mac McGee, and we are here to bring you play-by-play, pitch-by-pitch of your Atlanta Braves, and bringing you spring training and 2 to 3 games a week all season long. Please like and subscribe today. Braves Country Baseball.
Winter is the perfect time to start planning for your healthy, pest-free spring lawn with True Green, America's #1 lawn care company. True Green's science-based approach and local expertise will help give your lawn the year-round care it needs to be thick and weed-free. Go to truegreen.com. Just call 866-946-5956 or go to truegreen.com today and get a lawn to be proud of.
Hey, sports fans, it's Rod Peterson here, host of The Rod Peterson Show, inviting you to join us daily for 2 hours of Atlanta's funnest sports talk right here on WQEE. I say fun because it is. You've never heard a show like it because we make the listeners a part of the show every day between noon and 2 p.m. Eastern. You'll hear plenty of the best sports talk, including the latest on the Falcons, the Braves, and more. And who knows, you might even hear you. That's the Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon, right here on WQEE 99.1 FM.
It's the best in sports and entertainment, and get locked in and locked down with Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. with your host, me, Ryan O'Neill, each and every morning, right here with the best in sports and entertainment, all the way from professional sports to college sports to River Dragons hockey and everything in between, including some of the very best local and national guests. It's the Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Fridays, right here on 99.1 FM WQEE.
Hey, sports fans, weekdays 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern, drive time on WQEE. Braves Country is a Southern sports talk show with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. That's Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. Weekdays 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. right here on WQEE 99.1 FM. You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia.
Armchair. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterback Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good afternoon, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. Carlos Correa has signed with the Minnesota Twins. Correa and the Twins are in agreement on a 6-year, $200 million contract. The deal can max out to $270 million with vesting options for 4 additional years. Carlos Correa had been reported to be signing with the New York Mets 2 weeks ago, but negotiations fell apart during Correa's physical. Johnny Cueto is in agreement with the Miami Marlins, 1 year, $8.5 million deal with the 2024 option by the club for 2024. Last night, Brandon Belt signed a 1 year, $9 million deal with the Toronto Blue Jays. Jerry Jones says that Mike McCarthy's job is not at stake as the Cowboys travel to Tampa Bay Monday night for the wild card round playoffs. Cowboys were knocked out at home last year by the San Francisco 49ers. And in case you missed it, the Georgia Bulldogs have repeated as college football's national champions. Back-to-back champions, first time since the Alabama Crimson Tide. In the Southeastern Conference college basketball tonight, 7 o'clock, South Carolina is at Kentucky, while Florida is at LSU. 9 o'clock, you got Vandy at number 5 Tennessee, the number 21 Auburn Tigers at Ole Miss. Just a couple of games in the ACC. Georgia Tech's at Notre Dame at 7, and at 9, it's UNC at number 13 Virginia. And that's your Armchair Quarterback Sports Flash. Stay tuned for Braves Country right here on WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia, simulcasting on youtube.com at Braves Country.
Armchair.
There's something kind of about a kid that's never played baseball.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, and flat out deceived.
Why did you get so drunk?
You got drunk. I'm just really exhausted.
What's in that cup?
Armor Cokes.
Do you have any idea how important this is? We're trying to save the pub crawl. Really, this is what you're doing? This is what you're doing?
Chief, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night. Try to take over the world.
106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Armchair. YouTube Live.
Radio station. The radio station you can call your own. Do you know what listeners like about our station?
I like everything. It's always on my radio. We never stop the music, except for now, when I talk.
You're listening to Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. We're here live weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern, WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key, and simulcasting on youtube.com/@Braves Country. Your first choice for Southern sports. Good afternoon. I'm Mac McGee, and I don't know much, but I know one thing. Braves made a huge move today. They sent Carlos Correa from the Mets to the Minnesota Twins. Ah!
Armchair.
Community Access Channel.
He's the armchair quarterback. He's full of beer and he's full of snacks. The all-American man. Yeah, the armchair quarterback.
Yeah, howdy, hi, and how the hell are you, Braves Country? We got to be excited today, right? You got the Georgia Bulldogs winning the national championship in college football. That's not your cup of tea if you're not a Bulldog fan, if you're not a college football fan. Well, then you've got the Atlanta Braves. They are looking even better, and I still thought they were the best team in the division going in, but that was with Carlos Correa in the lineup with the Mets. I still felt like that the Mets, we talked about it yesterday or the day before, that even if they signed Carlos Correa, I still felt like this team wasn't much better than the one last year when you think of what they lost and what they just held on to. Well, now they don't have Correa. And now you know that means that they're going to go out and try to do something, but there's really not that heavy bat that's left out there. Now, there are some other, and we'll get into it later in the show. There are some other bats that are out there that I guess they could go for, but there's no one on the level of Carlos Correa. And so when you lose him, and you've got a bad farm system like the Mets have, you're going to be relying on hopefully trying to bring someone in that someone else wants to get rid of. We'll monitor that as it goes on, and there'll be a lot of speculation. We'll get into a lot of that talk, obviously. But other than that, now I never thought that the Mets were dead in the water at third base. They still have Eduardo Escobar. I thought he did a pretty good job. But you know how it is in Mets Nation, they think that everybody at every position needs to be a 40 home run, 100 RBI guy. Well, they're not going to get that at third base this year, that's for sure. And we'll see if they try to make a trade to once again platoon at third base or if they bring in a minor bat. But it won't be anyone of the level of Carlos Correa. He is heading to the Minnesota Twins, in case you missed it. News broke a couple hours ago. He is heading back to the Minnesota Twins after being rumored to have signed with the Mets, and then there was a whole thing about the physical. Well, the Minnesota Twins said, "We'll take you." It's going to be a 6-year deal, not a 10 or 12 like he'd originally had, but a 6-year deal for $200 million. And then there's going to be a vesting option at the end of that 6-year deal worth another 4 years, $70 million. So it could be worth 10 years, 270. And really what it comes down to is he will have to go through a physical at that point. And that was the only way they were going to get this done in a large deal. And he went ahead and agreed to it. I don't know. We don't know. Nobody knows at this point what the Mets conversations were, but evidently they didn't get creative enough. And Carlos Correa, for my money, defensively, the best shortstop in baseball. Offensively, he's right there in the top 5, top 10, depending on the year. There are years that he's had bad years. There's years where bad years for him. There's been years where he's been a little more top of the board, but he's a solid bat. He's a good power bat, a guy that when he's healthy is good for 25 home runs plus. A guy that will hit close to 300. He's not a swing and miss guy per se. He will get you some base hits, but he's got an absolute cannon, and I would think he's going to be cemented there in Minnesota. And good for the Twins fan base, by the way. Good for the Twins fan base. They went through this entire thing where they were not, well, let's be honest, they were being overlooked. And now he's heading back, and you don't see this a lot. You really don't get this a lot, where the Minnesota Twins are the team that outbids New York. But that's where we're at right now, and I think it's phenomenal news. It's phenomenal news for Braves country, obviously, because we were able to avoid what would have been a much better lineup. And granted, we're only facing them 12 times now. It's not the 19 times. It's not the gauntlet that it used to be. But we are facing now, in my opinion, a much easier road when you look at that lineup. And definitely a lot worse defensively. Now, they had planned to put him at third base, but if Carlos Correa can play third base half as well as he can play shortstop, then so be it. I know a lot of people don't like him per se because he was on that Houston cheating team, and he was one of the mouthpieces that really got into the whole, we're not as big a cheaters as everyone says we are kind of thing, right? But what we do have with him, whether you like him or not, you don't like it, you cannot deny the talent on the field. And so he heads back to Toronto. I think that's a huge, huge get for the Twins. I think it's also good for Major League Baseball too, to not have all the stars in one team in one market. I think that's enormous for baseball. If you are watching on YouTube, I am rocking the Gwinnett Braves hat, and the reason why is A, Braves got good news today, and B, the Gwinnett Braves hat has a G and a tomahawk, so you got to give some respect to the Georgia Bulldogs, who have now won back-to-back national championships. And whether you are a fan of the Bulldogs or not, it's really not the point. The point of this entire thing is the Georgia Bulldogs, you've got to make the argument. You've got to make the argument at this point. Are the Bulldogs a dynasty, and have they unseated the Alabama Crimson Tide as the number one program in America? And I think you have to say yes to both. Now, when I say dynasty, it's all relative when it comes to nowadays. Used to, dynasties in college sports, especially college football, there was a while there when the NCAA would actually anoint teams dynasty. And I remember in the early 2000s, there had only been 5 dynasties ever in the history of college football. And it was eras, but they always went on pretty long eras. In other words, they would not anoint you a dynasty if you'd done something for a couple of years. But when you look at what Georgia has done over the last several years, they've won back-to-back national championships. They lost the national championships in heartbreaking fashion to the Crimson Tide. And you have to look at the overall factor of Georgia and the fact that, let's just look at it from the last few years. First of all, the last 2 years, they've gone 29-1. You can't doubt that. They went 8-2 in the 2020 season. Of course, that one always is going to have an asterisk for all sports, but they did go 8-2, and they did finish number 3 in the country. 2019, they finished number 3 in the country. Went 12-2. 2018, they finished number 2 in the country. 2017, number 2 in the country. Compiling at least 11 wins, not counting the 2020 shortened year, at least 11 wins every single season since that time period. So I think even on the older scale, and they used to always do it, but it had to be by 10 years, etc. Even by the older scale, you've got to give Georgia a dynasty into that part because, and of course, what they always do is they wait for the run to end, and then that's when they anoint them. But this team's going to be getting what, if you go all the way back to 10 seasons ago, it was at their low point-ish. Comparatively, they were 8-5 in 2013. Now, right before that, it was that loss to Alabama in the SEC championship game in 2012, and of course 2011. 2012 was the one that I think most fans just wring their hands with. But you look at the overall, this Georgia team is not done. Now, who knows if they'll ever win another national championship with this current era, because those are hard to come by. You need some luck involved. You need health, et cetera, et cetera. But you look at from 2014, 10-3, 2015, 10-3, had a down year in 2016 at 8-5. That was Kirby Smart's first year. And then since then, from 2017, the last 6 years, from 2017 to now, the lowest that they finished ranked is number 3 in the country. And that reminds me of the Bowden era when he went 14 years finishing in the top 4, which no one's ever done that. And I don't know if we'll ever see that again. Georgia's making a strong run, but even Alabama, they'll have a down year every once in a while. It's incredibly hard to do that. And if Bowden would have been in the playoff era, Bobby Bowden definitely would have won a couple more national championships. It's just by the sheer luck of it, you would stumble into at least 2 or 3. But that was a different era. Same thing with the Bear Bryant. Same thing with a lot of the great old coaches. I think there would have been more national championships because back years ago, you got one loss. Sometimes it was the death of you, and that's no loss. Now you've got Alabama fans who lost 2 games, and other teams had much better arguments. And you got Alabama fans right after the national title game telling us that they should have been in the national title game because they would have given Georgia a better game. That they would have given up a better fight. I mean, a nail would give a hammer a better fight than what we saw last night. So let's get off that. Let's also remember something else about Alabama. You lost to Tennessee, so you can't tell me that Tennessee didn't have a stronger argument. And there's a couple of other teams you could throw in there. And oh, by the way, I tweeted this out, but oh, by the way, there's another team that had 2 losses that barely lost to Georgia, and that's Ohio State. And they've got more of an argument than Alabama does to be in the national title game. I know they just lost, but that's not the point. The point is you're going to go by resume. You're going to go by this and that. I'll be so glad when they get to the 12-team playoff and quit trying to back Alabama in every time. If Alabama's undefeated or sitting there with 1 loss, they won the SEC championship, by all means they belong in there. But there's too many of these pinheads that want to put, it's not just Alabama, they want to do it with a lot of teams, but they want to try to back them in because they want a brand. Look, TCU, the lights were too bright. They laid an egg. But I don't say TCU didn't deserve to be in the game. They did everything that was asked of them to get in that game, and they beat Michigan. And I'm going to say right now what a lot of people don't want to talk about, Sonny Dykes got out-coached in the game. He flat out got out-coached. You heard the commentators last night. They were talking about the sugar huddle and the up-pace tempo, and it looked like TCU did not have a contingency plan for that. They just assumed Georgia was going to go up and try to line up and mash them in the mouth. And when there was basically what happened was when there was an audible call, they had no game plan. And so all in all, it was a good year for TCU, but that coaching staff has to wear that embarrassment because when it's all said and done, it's your job to get these 21-year-old kids. And remember something when you're hammering these kids they're kids. It's your job to get these 20, 21, 19, 18-year-old kids ready to play a football game. And if you come out there and you don't have a game plan, it becomes very, very obvious. Michael's question is, what are the top 3 college programs right now? I mean, I'm sorry, but I've got to give it to the Georgia Bulldogs as number 1. And just because of longevity, I think you have to probably go Alabama, and then, of course, I think it's got to be Ohio State. That would be my top 3. Because it's not like Ohio State hasn't won a national championship in this era. Now, some folks might argue that Clemson's taken a little bit of a dive. And if you have asked me this a couple of years ago, absolutely it's Clemson. But this year, this is straight up recency. This has got nothing to do with what have you done for the last 7-8 years. It's recency and it's have you been consistent. And Clemson going out and 11-3 is nothing to sneeze about. But Clemson 11-3, and they've been on the downtick. They have been on the downtick for quite some time. You look at last year, they were 10-3. You look at the fact that they got manhandled a couple of times in big spots over the last few years. Dabo Swinney had a heck of a run. But I have to look at now. Last year they finished 14th in the country. This year they'll finish somewhere in that neighborhood. You can't put them above Ohio State, who went to the playoffs again this year and actually won a game. Over the last few years. It's not like that they've only been, some of the ones come to mind like Oklahoma and whatnot that always get roasted as soon as they get to the playoffs. But I'll tell you what, change is coming in college football because you're going to get 12 teams and you can see more and more up and coming programs all over the country, in Knoxville, in Tallahassee. I think they're doing good things in a lot of the SEC cities, other SEC cities as well. I like what they're doing in Oxford, Mississippi. Arkansas seems like a program that you're going to have to keep an eye on. And it's not that Clemson's going away. It's not that any of the teams going away, but because of the NIL, the gap is getting a little tighter. We'll be back in a flash when we come back. More on this crazy sports day and on the Carlos Correa signing. We'll be back in a flash. Keep it locked in here on The Key in Braves Country HD.
When you were my age, did you ever have trouble deciding what you wanted to do with your life?
No, I've never had that problem, really. Why?
Forget it. I didn't think you'd understand.
You take drugs, Danny?
Every day.
Good. So what's the problem?
I don't know.
Work is work. You don't show up late, you don't make excuses, and you don't not work. If it wasn't work, they wouldn't call it work. They'd call it super wonderful, crazy, fun time. Or skippity-doo.
It all starts with just one thing. Get to know your local beekeeper. You can make sure they don't use chemicals in the hive, that they only sell surplus honey, plus locally produced honeys have a smaller carbon footprint. Find tips and more at onethingus.com. What's your one thing?
The Armchair Quarterbacks are covering America's pastime from spring training all the way to the Fall Classic.
5-2 Dodgers in the ninth. Got him. They've done it. Like the 1969 Mets, it's the impossible dream revisited.
And Myers bringing it. And the pitch is hit in the air. Foul off first. Benzinger backing and calling. And the 1990 World Championship belongs to the Cincinnati Reds.
The Twins are going to win the World Series. The Twins have won it. It's a base hit. It's a 1-0 10-inning victory.
Bell, left field, way back. Blue Jays win it. The Blue Jays are World Series champions as Joe Carter hits a 3-run home run in the ninth inning, and the Blue Jays have repeated as World Series champions. Touch them all, Joe. You'll never hit a bigger home run in your life.
Armchair.
Hey, sports fans, it's Rod Peterson here, host of The Rod Peterson Show, inviting you to join us daily for 2 hours of Atlanta's funnest sports talk right here on WQEE. I say fun because it is. You've never heard a show like it because we make the listeners a part of the show every day between noon and 2 p.m. Eastern. You'll hear plenty of the best sports talk, including the latest on the Falcons, the Braves, and more. And who knows, you might even hear you. That's the Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon, right here on WQEE 99.1 FM.
You're listening.
Shenyang, a performance that truly matters to every one of us, is coming to the Columbus River Center for the Performing Arts, January 17th, one night only. Shenyang brings 5,000 years of civilization live on stage through choreographed dance, music combining Western and Chinese instruments in an animated backdrop. Come and see it at least once in your lifetime. Tickets at shenyang.com/GA.
The NFL playoffs are back, and that means the Armchair Quarterbacks kickoff show is back. Join Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks Wild Card Weekend and Divisional Round Weekend Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern to kickoff at 4:30 Eastern. The Armchair Quarterbacks will be talking the spreads, prop bets, over-unders, stupid underdogs, and the locks. That's the Armchair Quarterbacks kickoff show, streaming right here on Braves Country HD and our radio affiliates.
Dad, look, all I ever have is a bran muffin and a touch of yogurt. Girly food.
Besides, I already fixed your breakfast. Now, I made you eggs in a nest.
Ah, yes. Fried eggs, swimming in fat, served in a delightfully hollowed-out piece of white bread. I can almost hear my left ventricle slamming shut as I speak.
Welcome back. And the way I look at it here down south, if your NFL football team did make the playoffs, which many of us in Braves country can say that, and the college football national championship has been put to bed, it can only mean one thing. It's baseball season, baby. Baseball season, to me, begins the day after the college national championship. You still got a dog in the hunt in the NFL playoffs. It still doesn't mean it's not baseball season. To me, that's when baseball season officially begins. Of course, the preseason begins during the free agency period, but it's baseball season here to me now. and excited about a lot of things. Wanted to hit some of these things. So Anthopoulos was on a Zoom today and was talking about a lot of different things. Want to play a couple of the clips. Won't do it all today. We'll kind of sprinkle this throughout. But one of the things, first of all, you Georgia Bulldog fans, he was paying attention last night to the national championship game. Here you go.
Obviously being here 5 years now, I understand how big Georgia is, Georgia football, the SEC, just the community, right? And I would think this is the golden era of UGA, right? Like we got to live it. Our kids, like my kids didn't know, they're young, they're 10 and 12, but they've been here 5 years. So like, this is all they know, right? So they're watching and they got their friends there with jerseys and this and that. And, this is hope we're going to look back and say, like, this is the golden era. Now they're talking about Stetson Bennett being the greatest Georgia player of all time. It's cool, knowing what it means here in the community that, like, we got to be here right when that was going on.
Yeah, so that was Anthopoulos talking about Stetson Bennett. Think it's pretty cool that he's gone out and paying attention and kind of embraced what's going on in the Atlanta, Georgia community. Obviously not everybody in Atlanta is a Georgia Bulldog fan, but college football in general has been enormous. And so I thought that was pretty cool. And we'll get into more of these clips as the show goes on. But when your general manager sees that how big the community is. So for instance, I think it was cool that a lot of your Hawks and your Falcons embraced the Atlanta Braves national championship. But when you look at the whole 9 yards of it, and hopefully he gets into it when Georgia Tech does well, any of the local teams, but it shows you that he's paying attention. I've seen a lot of interviews with a lot of general managers where you ask them about the college national championship or whatnot, or anything that's outside their sports world, and they almost have robotic answers, and you can tell they didn't watch the game. So obviously Anthopoulos didn't graduate from Georgia. He didn't grow up down here, but it was cool for him to be talking about his kids having the friends over with the Georgia jerseys and whatnot. So I thought that was a cool touch. Here's some actual baseball stuff with Anthopoulos that I thought was very, very key. And a couple of things. See, which one do we want to hit first? I'll tell you what, the one that everyone has been kind of chomping at the bit all offseason. Here's his thoughts on the whole shortstop position in Major League Baseball.
Taking Vaughn, and again, Vaughn's going to compete with Orlando Arcia, right? So young, high energy, the makeup's off the charts, his aptitude's off the charts. Big guy. So it's easy with your eyes to say, I don't know if this guy could stick at shortstop. Hadn't played a whole lot of second base. He played a little bit, but primarily on the left side of the infield. Mm-hmm. So it was a crash course. He was coming in really early on the first bus every day on the road and here at the ballpark in Atlanta, getting early work with Wash, but he was still getting up to speed, playing the position. And look, we saw some flashes. Things look good. Other times where he was a little rough. Mm-hmm. But the one thing with him is he's gotten better every single year. And we didn't get to see him at the big league level on the left side of the infield. Now, in the offseason, we have a meeting with the staff, going through the offseason, approach plans, and so on. Want to get everyone's take and opinion. We talked about Vaughn as a group. And, Wash felt like, look, we clearly wanted Dansby back. That was the priority. But you just don't know when guys get to free agency where the dollars are going to go. You have to talk through, if we can't get there financially, where are we going next? Do we have to trade for a guy? Do we have anybody internally? And the more it was discussed as a group, as much as Dansby was clearly the guy we wanted back, if it wasn't going to happen, could Vaughn or Orlando handle that job? Could it be something where you're hitting them ninth? You're not going to get a 6-win season, highly unlikely, like what you just got. Mm-hmm. Can they hold the fort down, and do they have upside? And we knew what Orlando Arcia could do. We felt pretty good about what the bat is. We know what the defense is and so on. And we like him. And then the question was, can Vaughn handle shortstop defensively? Remember asking Wash many times, like, I don't know what he's going to do with the bat. If he wins that starting job, are we going to come to a point in the season where we feel like, hey, we have to make a change defensively and so on? And he felt like with work, with proper reps and so on, and he said, if I can get him for a week to 10 days at a time in the offseason 3 times, I will have him ready come spring training to compete for that job.
Okay, so that was Anthopoulos. And basically, look, he's saying essentially what I've been saying all off season, but I'm glad to get it from him because when a talking head like me says it, you roll your eyes and you don't know what you're talking about, McGee. But I've been following this sport my entire life. This will be I was thinking about it the other day. So this will be this will be essentially, if my math is right, the 42nd year of me watching and understanding Major League Baseball. As a young child, 1982 is the first year that I really remember. Like I was around paying attention in 81 and in 80 because I do remember those World Series. In fact, I vaguely remember the 79 series with the Pirates. But honest engine, if you ask me when I started watching baseball, it was 82. I was very aware of the Braves 13-0 beginning way back when. I was glued to the Brewers and Cardinals World Series, and away we go. So I guess my point has been watching and paying attention to this for a while. And even the bigger name teams, and I'm talking about the Yankees, and I'm talking about, you think about when the Yankees told Robinson Cano, we're not spending $240 million on you. Bye-bye. We'll see you in Seattle. You think about some of the other teams that have lost guys and you're like, I can't believe they lost a guy. You think about when Johnny Damon left the Red Sox, it was one of the heartbeats of that Red Sox organization. Oh, and Jacoby Ellsbury left to go to the Yankees. You think about when some of these players leave and everybody wants to keep their player for a long time because no matter what people try to tell you, we watch sports for the people. Now you get accustomed and you get very emotionally attached to the laundry they're wearing, but it's really just a way for you to pay attention to a group of people's lives and careers and keep it organized. If not, if you're one of these fans who's all over the board and they only like LeBron James, they follow LeBron James wherever he goes, those championships mean less. So if you're going to be a fan of a team and you're going to be a fan of any team in any sport, you're going to have highs and lows, but you're also going to have to deal with losing free agents. And as long as we're getting good production from the shortstop and left field position, the Braves are going to be okay. They should have good pitching again, barring injuries. They should have a very good offense at the top. And I've said it since day one back in November. This was going to be a platoon situation in shortstop and in left field. And if Ron Washington sees something in a guy, I'm going to trust Ron Washington because he's out there watching him play defense. We already know that he has the ability for offensive greatness. I don't think it's going to happen in year one. I think we're going to go through some growing pains. You always do. But I do believe that if Grissom can master shortstop and be a good shortstop, doesn't have to be elite. If he can be a good shortstop, with his offensive potential, he'll be fine. Same thing in left field. If we can get at least decent glove work out there, the bats that they have in left field that they can roll around, it's probably going to look more like a revolving door out in left field. But when you think of Luplow, you think of obviously Rosario, who signed the 3 for $27 deal last year. Then he had the eye injury. Everybody knows that if they knew he was going to have this eye injury, they wouldn't have signed him to a 3 for $27. But Rosario was one of the guys that helped that motor go for the World Championship. And when they get him going, and I think they will, he's going to be a solid bat in left field, especially against righties. I suspect we're going to platoon him. And against lefties, once again, I know a lot of people are going to roll their eyes and they don't want to see it, but it's going to be Ozuna for the most part. And if they get to the point where they can't make Ozuna fit, they probably will DFA him. But when you have that much money invested in a guy, that's going to be the problem. And he talked about core beliefs and club chemistry. We won't get into that today. There's so much other stuff to get into. I don't believe we'll have time. Probably hit that up tomorrow. But that what he said about club chemistry makes me think that when I know a lot of diehard Brave fans are out there hoping for like a juggernaut of talent. I don't think he wants to bring in a Trevor Bauer. Because regardless what you believe on whether Trevor Bauer did wrong or not did wrong in the incident with the lady out there, and there's a lot of conflicting stories, so I really don't know what to believe, honestly. But regardless what you think about that, he was not well liked in the Dodgers clubhouse. He wasn't well liked in general, and it's one of the reasons why when he went to sign that deal with the Dodgers, he just come off the IR. I mean, IR. Something flashed across the screen. He just come off winning a Cy Young, so everybody knew the talent was there. But the reason why he didn't get a 7-year, 6-year balloon deal was because he was known as kind of a jerk. So he got a 3-year deal at top value and was able to option out if he wanted to. And then the suspension came in and the rest is history. Now the Dodgers DFA'd him, and we'll know more about it come Friday. I believe Friday afternoon is when he'll come off the DFA list, and you'll find out where's he going, right? But when it's all said and done, I don't think they're going to go after Trevor Bauer because they worry about that locker room, and you bring someone like him in. You've already got kind of a chemistry issue anyways with losing Freeman and losing Swanson the last couple of years. Ozuna, he's had his problems, let's be honest. And it appears to be fairly well liked in the locker room, but I don't think he's the guy they all looked up to a couple of years ago when they first signed him. Remember, one of the reasons why they re-signed him to the long-term deal is because he become like a big brother to Ozzie and to Acuna. And then out of nowhere, he gets in trouble with the domestic violence issue again. The first one was 100% with his wife, but he did get into trouble. And then he gets the DUI. And so when you look at the whole 9 yards of it, he's got to be skating on really thin ice anyways. But you can't trade him because he's done. But if you listen to Anthopoulos on payroll and whatnot, they're kind of in a sticky wicket, and it doesn't sound like they got a lot of money to play with. All right, we are going to take a really quick break. When we come back, more here on the show. Joey's on his way. We're going to be talking the NFL playoffs. We're talking some lines on that and things we do and don't like about the games coming up. And a lot of news coming up. We'll get you caught up here on a busy Tuesday here on Braves Country. Keep it locked in here on WQEE and Braves Country HD, wherever you may stream.
That's a joke, boy. You missed it. Went right past you. You gotta keep on your toes.
You get a whole lot of something with Farmers Policy Perks. So much, I'm going to have to speed things up. You can get the Farmers Signal app, and that could get you up to 15% off your auto policy. That's just for using the app and driving like the normal speed limited hearing, full stop, making lane change, signaling human being you are. Get a whole lot of something with Farmers Policy Perks. Start with a quote by calling 1-800-FARMERS.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Hey, Hey, Braves fans, thank you for listening to Braves Country Baseball. Hi, I'm Mac McGee, and we are here to bring you play-by-play, pitch-by-pitch of your Atlanta Braves, bringing you spring training and 2 to 3 games a week all season long. Please like and subscribe today. Braves Country Baseball.
Dread running to the post office? Stamps.com brings post office and UPS services right to your computer. Send letters, ship packages, and get up to 40% off USPS and up to 62% off UPS rates. Nearly 1 million small businesses use Stamps.com to save time and money. It's a no-brainer. So skip the post office and visit Stamps.com.
Sit sharp! I'm not playing your stupid game!
That's the sound of NyQuil Severe hard at work. NyQuil Severe is the best sleep with a cold medicine. No tossing and turning, just rest and recovery. So you're ready to take on tomorrow. For powerful relief of your worst cold and flu symptoms, try NyQuil Severe. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, best sleep with a cold medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach.
The NFL playoffs are back, and that means the Armchair Quarterbacks Kickoff Show is back. Join Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks Wild Card Weekend and Divisional Round Weekend Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern to kick off at 4:30 Eastern. The Armchair Quarterbacks will be talking the spreads, prop bets, over-unders, stupid underdogs, and the locks. That's the Armchair Quarterbacks Kickoff Show, streaming right here on Braves Country HD and our radio affiliates.
Shan Young, a performance that truly matters to every one of us, is coming to the Columbus River Center for the Performing Arts, January 17th, one night only. Shan Young brings 5,000 years of civilization live on stage through choreographed dance, music combining Western and Chinese instruments in an animated backdrop. Come and see it at least once in your lifetime. Tickets at shanyoung.com/GA.
I am definitely down for some rock climbing.
Yeah, me too. I am down. I am totally down. Lock me down.
Cool. So, what do you say we climb a rock mañana?
Mañana. Mañana might be a problem. I'm supposed to have a boil lanced mañana. You know, I think they charge me if I cancel with only one mañana's notice.
Welcome back. Taking you all the way to the 5 o'clock hour. Joey joins us here in a few minutes. We're going to dive into the NFL playoffs. Can't wait to get some of his takes on some of the things that are going on here in the world of sports. If you're just joining us, Carlos Correa, 6 years, $200 million with a 4-year option, vesting option to the Minnesota Twins, not the New York Mets. So a lot of shock and awe in Gotham right now. And the Mets fan who has become very spoiled here recently, not from winning championships, but from their owner who is just pretty much handed over blank checks. They get the rug pulled out from under them, and we'll see what happens with this. I do find it interesting that LeBron James, by the way, does still say that he wants to play until he can either play with or against his son, which is coming very soon. But whether you like or dislike LeBron James, you can't argue with the fact his talent is real still at this age. He's still an elite player. If he stays in shape, I mean, I don't know if LeBron James could be anywhere close to a Tom Brady, because running up and down a basketball court till you're in your 40s at his position is unless he's willing to be a role player, is a little, it'd be a little odd. But let's say he ends up playing with his son. Let's say his son gets on his team, or he gets on his son's team, however it works out. it might motivate him to play longer than what we expect. And that's enough about LeBron James, because I really think that they overdo it on ESPN and the other outlets. The Carlos Correa thing, unbelievably fun thing to see unfold. And tell you what, I am going to play one more clip for Anthopoulos, because this one I think kind of gives you a broader idea of what his thinkings are on the payroll. Take a listen.
So Odorizzi, when we made the trade, our expectation was with the trade, his salary was much lower than Will Smith's, just in base salary. He had a big buyout on an option of 6.25. So we had baked it all in that we planned on paying that buyout at 6.25 no matter what. We made the trade.
Mm-hmm.
And Will Smith had a buyout as well. So even then there was less dollars. And then, so that was going on the 2022 payroll. So in the trade for Allard, the 6.25 was already going to be in there. He exercised the option. So it was a net 375 for us. The transaction was a 375 transaction. That was a 2022 transaction for us. It doesn't impact 2023. CBT wise, it is impacted, but again, we're more focused on the cash part of it. Like you said, we're under 200. CBT number is a lot higher, but again, you're looking at 20% on the amount you're over. So I think right now we're a hair over, so $1.5 million, but we're still within the number we have from a payroll standpoint right now, and that's what we spend our time on. I know people obsess about it, CBT and so on. Other than just paying that 20% tax, there's no impact on us. I look at it as from a cash standpoint. So we might end up below, we might end up above, we might trade guys, cash comes back. Like between now and the end of the season, I have no idea where we're going to end up. I do know what I have to spend in terms of cash, and that's where we spend our time.
So that was Anthopoulos. And Robert, I do see your comment about the Georgia National Championship. Went into detail on that earlier in the show. The great thing about the YouTube stream is that you can always go back and rewind. But real quick, for you Georgia fans out there, I know you're still celebrating. I put them at the top of the college football mountain. Obviously, at this point, back-to-back national championships. Right now, I've ranked it because Michael had the question earlier. I've got Georgia number 1, Bama 2, and Ohio State 3. If I'm going to have 3 teams ranked. Now, not too far off just because of recency, what they've done. You've got to put Clemson in there, but those are by far my top 3. And Michigan's starting to make it an argument, but I do believe for Michigan to actually stay in the argument, you're going to have to win you're going to have to win a championship. You can't get knocked out in the playoffs in the first round each time. You lost to TCU. They got their doors blown off by Georgia. And last year, you got your doors blown off by Georgia. So right now, they have found a way to beat Ohio State, and I get that, and that's great because that's going to keep your job. It's going to keep you, if folks are going to stay very happy in Michigan for at least a few more years. And then eventually it's going to become like every fan base, I can't win the big one, let's get rid of them. And knowing a couple of diehard Michigan fans that I do, they're going to be rolling their eyes and going, would you stop it? Look at what we had beforehand. Do we want to go back to the days of Rodriguez? Do we want to go back to the days of, if you get the bare nuts down to it, Lloyd Carr was pretty darn good. But as far as sustainable powerhouse championship type team, Michigan has not been there since. It's Bo Schembechler. So what Harbaugh has done, I'm not ready to put the heat on him, but the fan base will do it. If he gets another year where he goes to the playoffs and gets knocked out in the first round, that's when you're going to start hearing the rumbling. Right now, they're still happy with it. But that's the way of the American sports fan. Yeah, exactly. Rich Rod. Yeah, that was a disaster when they brought Rodriguez in. Absolutely correct, Brian. back to what Anthopoulos was talking about, and this is the thing that I don't think the average fan understands when it comes to these payrolls. They usually have a budget, a number in mind from up top. And here's the thing, it's not a number that you can necessarily figure out and quantify, because it's not always about the CBT. It's the dollar amount that they're going to spend each year. And as he explained it goes up and down, right? And that's why no one ever really knows what the budget is for a team, because they don't make those things public, because they don't want you to be able to dissect it, right? And then plus if they make it public, then your teams that you're competing against are going to know your number, and they're going to know whether or not you are more likely to go after someone, offer money, expect, et cetera, et cetera. And that's not just in baseball. It's in football. It's all sports. But what he was basically, what it sounds like to me, if you want to just put a pin in the whole thing, their off season is essentially done making big moves unless something falls into their lap. The only move that I could see, the big move that could still be out there for him, Trevor Bauer. But is Trevor Bauer, what he does on the mound, still, because remember, he hasn't been on there for a few years, is it going to be worth possibly disrupting your locker room? It's going to be an all or nothing thing. It's either he's going to come in, the guys are going to love him, he's going to pitch well, you're going to love it, or B, he's going to come in, he's going to be the jerk that everyone says that he's been. I don't know anything specifically. I just go off of what I've read, that he doesn't get along with a lot of teammates, et cetera, et cetera. If he did, they probably would have taken him back in Los Angeles as opposed to eat $22 million. And you wonder why the Dodgers haven't done anything this past season, this past off season. Well, they've kind of laid in the weeds. I'll tell you why. Because they're saving up money. The Mets can think what they want. Shohei Ohtani is going to be a Los Angeles Dodger once he gets free agency. I'm sure there's going to be a heck of a bidding war, but the Dodgers and the Mets, to me, are the two teams. Maybe you see the Yankees get into it, but they spent so much in recency. I just don't see them go, because he is going to command $500 million. I guarantee it. So, oh, by the way, Atlanta fans, stop it right now, because I know what you're going to send me at next offseason is, what about Ohtani? You think we're going to sign Ohtani? No! He is going to ask for so much money. It's almost going to be comical. But that's okay. You can find ways to win without having Ohtani. And realize something, too. If you got that much money in there and you're like, well, we got their DH sewn up. We've got an elite starting pitcher sewn up. That's great. But what if that one guy, and he's going to want like a 10-year deal. What if that one guy, I'll just play it at 1 year, 10 years, $500 million. And that's probably lowballing it. But what if that one guy goes out and tears his rotator cuff, and then he's out for a year and a half or whatnot, or has to have Tommy John. Tommy John, he might be able to get back quicker at DH, but you get my point. And Anthopoulos does not seem like an all eggs in one basket kind of guy. Footballs, we got the NFL rocking. Joey's on his way on that. Just to put a pin in the whole college football national championship. They had a preseason top 25 on. Now there's been a lot of them out there, so I get that, but I'm just going to pull the one that I saw because I thought this one was wildly wrong, because they had some teams that were way down at the bottom of the rank that shouldn't have been. Let me see if I can pull it up, because the guy that I follow is the one that had it, and I just cannot believe that he had. There was a couple of ones. Now, what doesn't shock you about the whole thing is Georgia was number 1, and Alabama was 2, Ohio State 3, I believe. And I really felt like that they were just regurgitating what has just happened. I mean, because when I first saw it, I was like, is this a preseason top 25? Or is this a 2 days, 1 day, 6 hours after the national championship? So I didn't get this entire top 25. Trying to pull it up. Here it is. So Georgia 1, Michigan 2, Ohio State 3. I misspoke there. Alabama's 4. Here's one that throws me off. West Coast football is back. Washington Huskies number 5. I don't know if I buy that. I get that they've got the elite quarterback in Michael Penix Jr., but I just don't know if I buy that. I can't put any Pac-12 teams up there until they break through the glass ceiling. So to me, that's a little high. TCU at number 6. Not after what I just saw last night. I want no part of TCU in the national title hunt. Not if there's only going to be 4 teams. When you get to 12 teams, fair enough. Penn State number 7. That's an interesting one. We've got a Penn State guy that'll be here on Friday, so I'll ask him about that. But to me, it seems a little high. They've got LSU at number 8. Now, this is CBS Sports. I know there's a lot of them out there. LSU 8, Clemson 9. And already I say that they are inaccurate with their predictions. I'm going to keep this article and compare it to what it's going to be in August when we get the real preseason top 25. Notre Dame 10. I don't hate that one at all. Hartman coming over should make the offense go. Now, I haven't had time to look at all these teams' schedules, so keep that in mind. Oregon 11, Tulane 12, USC 13, Florida State 14, Oregon State 15, and Tennessee 16. And I'll stop it there. We could do this all day long. That is way too low for Tennessee. What I've seen out of Joe Milton, I believe he is coming back. I don't believe they've lost him. His plan is to come back, is what he has said. I don't see there's any way where Tennessee shouldn't be top 10. Florida State should be top 10. All their guys are coming back. They're losing very little. Jared Verse, the defensive end that everyone had projected in the top 15, he's coming back. Tulane, the problem with putting them up as high as they've got them going, and they were impressive. But look, their defense was garbage. The problem is with Tulane, if you have one bad game and you lose, you're out of the hunt. You're out of the hunt because you don't play in a big enough conference, and whether it's fair or not, there's going to be bias to that. Texas is number 17. I'll have to see it to believe it. Texas is always overrated. And another team that I think is a little low, considering what we just saw, South Carolina Gamecocks, number 22. We'll talk more about this, but I think some of these are wildly low. And UCLA being in the top 25, losing DTB, that is a huge question mark. We're going to be back in a flash. When we come back, Joey joins us, and we're going to be talking some NFL playoffs. Keep it locked in.
Armchair. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterback Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good afternoon, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. Carlos Correa has signed with the Minnesota Twins. CORREA and the Twins are in agreement on a 6-year, $200 million contract. The deal can max out to $270 million with vesting options for 4 additional years. Carlos Correa had been reported to be signing with the New York Mets 2 weeks ago, but negotiations fell apart during Correa's physical. Johnny Cueto is in agreement with the Miami Marlins, 1 year, $8.5 million deal with the 2024 option by the club for 2024. Last night, Brandon Belt signed a 1 year, $9 million deal with the Toronto Blue Jays. Jerry Jones says that Mike McCarthy's job is not at stake as the Cowboys travel to Tampa Bay Monday night for the wild card round playoffs. Cowboys were knocked out at home last year by the San Francisco 49ers. And in case you missed it, the Georgia Bulldogs have repeated as college football's national champions. Back-to-back champions, first time since the Alabama Crimson Tide. In the Southeastern Conference college basketball tonight, 7 o'clock, South Carolina is at Kentucky, while Florida is at LSU. 9 o'clock, you got Vandy at number 5, Tennessee, and the number 21 Auburn Tigers at Ole Miss. Just a couple of games in the ACC. Georgia Tech's at Notre Dame at 7, and at 9, it's UNC at number 13, Virginia. And that's your Armchair Quarterback Sports Flash. Stay tuned for Braves Country right here on WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia, simulcasting on youtube.com at Braves Country.
It's the best in sports and entertainment, and get locked in and locked down with Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. with your host, me, Ryan O'Neill, each and every morning, right here with the best in sports and entertainment, all the way from professional sports to college sports to River Dragons hockey and everything in between, including some of the very best local and national guests. It's the Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Fridays, right here on 99.1 FM WQEE.
The NFL playoffs are back, and that means the Armchair Quarterbacks Kickoff Show is back. Join Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks Wild Card Weekend and Divisional Round Weekend Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern to kick off at 4:30 Eastern. The Armchair Quarterbacks will be talking the spreads, prop bets, over-unders, stupid underdogs, and the locks. That's the Armchair Quarterbacks Kickoff Show, streaming right here on Braves Country HD and our radio affiliates.
The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is going to hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
Armchair.
Community Access Channel.
He's the armchair quarterback. He's full of beer and he's full of snacks. The all-American man.
Welcome back. Real quick, you probably just heard the clip, but just a reminder, this Saturday and next Saturday, 3 to 4:30 Eastern, right here on Braves Country HD and several other outlets, we are going to be doing our Armchair Quarterbacks Kickoff Show. So we'll be talking NFL playoffs and should be a lot of fun. We got a lot of stuff planned for each show, and some of it I'm going to drop on the guys so they're not prepared for it. Should be a lot of fun as always. Joining us now is Mr. Joey. Joey, how are you, sir?
Doing pretty well. Just following, this coaching search amongst the NFL a lot. As an Indianapolis Colts fan, it's going to be the next couple of weeks are going to be a lot of interviews, already 4 or 5 lined up for a plethora of teams, including myself. So I'm interested to see, before I talk about the draft, I know I want to get ahead of myself, but I'm going to make sure the head coach gets in there first, and I'm really looking closely at that.
You being a Colts fan, I give you one pick, you say, this is my guy, and that's it. Who do you – and do not tell me Sean Payton.
Oh, believe me, it won't be him, but it will be Mr. Harbaugh, and for a couple of reasons. Number one, he does have Not for coaching reasons, but reasons that make sense. He does have ties to this community in Indianapolis as he's played there as the quarterback of the team before. So him and Irsay kind of already have a relationship. I know they took that road with Saturday, but Saturday had no experience. Completely different story. Obviously, Harbaugh has a resume that will stack up against many others. And I truly believe if you could convince him to get in here, that the rebuild would go quicker than slower, as we all know the Colts need to fully revamp things. And it starts with the quarterback, where I think Harbaugh would have a lot of good say with one of these rookies, maybe Mr. Stroud, who he sees a couple times a year. So Harbaugh would be my number one.
I don't think he's leaving Michigan, but I do like the choice. I think he's going to stay. I think unless he just has a desire to get back in the NFL, and there's a reason why he left. There's a very good reason why he left, but we'll see what happens with that. The other, when it comes to the Colts, I think regardless whoever they bring in, it's got to be someone who can develop a quarterback. And that's got to be because they're going to draft a quarterback. I would be shocked if they don't. If they take another swing at a
Derek Carr,
Jimmy G or whatever, and nothing against Jimmy G, but come on, it's time. It's time to refocus. You're going to be in a division that's going to have Trevor Lawrence. You've already seen what he's starting to do. He didn't play great on Saturday night, but his future's bright.
Agreed.
And I believe Bryce Young is going to be the other quarterback in this division. If it's not Bryce Young, Houston will draft Stroud.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to have two elite quarterbacks. Tennessee, I think, is going to punt on a quarterback this year because I really think with this class they're going to go high, and Tennessee will just grab an offensive tackle and just kind of bite the bullet. They'll either struggle with they'll do one or two things. If they cut Tannehill, they might do something like, let's just sign Dobbs to a short deal. Let's just give him a chance and maybe draft another quarterback later in the draft and let that quarterback and Malik Willis fight it out, and we'll see how it goes. But one thing's for sure, they fired Downing because they didn't like the offensive production. So I do think that top pick that the Titans will have at number 11, it sits really nice from that offensive tackle from Northwestern. So I think that's where they're going to go. They'll have a little money to play with under the cap this year as opposed to last year. But Tennessee's not in a complete rebuild, but they're definitely in it's time to go reload some pieces. I think the Colts can be in that same argument. But the Colts, if they have an opportunity, what are they, the fourth pick?
Fourth pick, correct.
Man, I think it would be really hard not to draft a quarterback with that number 4 pick.
Yeah, and our GM said today in his press conference, Mr. Chris Ballard, that they would move Earth, Wind, and Fire to move up in the draft if they really like one of these QBs. So to me, that there's just those little tidbits today that there's going to be a young quarterback drafted. Whether they stay at 4 or try to move up, they're going to be going for a quarterback.
Well, that tells me that they could be in on the number 1 pick.
I hope so, because Chicago will move out if needed.
If you're Chicago and you can slide down to the 4th pick and gain, I don't care what you gain, but gain 1, maybe 2 other picks. They don't have to be top picks, but you get the Colts number. I'm not familiar with the Colts draft for this year, but you get their number 4 pick, and you would probably at least ask for at least a number 3 in return, assuming the Colts have a 3rd round pick this year. If not, they're probably going to be asking for the 2nd round pick. So let's say they give up the 3 and a 4, or 3 and a 5, or you give up a 2 and you give it something much less. Maybe you give up a 1 and a 2 this year and you give up a 3 next year, right? I think if I'm the Colts, I do it. Let me pick the quarterback I really want. I'm supposed to have to sit behind. We know Houston, who's in my division, wants a quarterback.
Exactly. And, a lot of people will say it's an easy decision to make when you have the first pick, but obviously quarterbacks and pass drafts have been 50-50. When the Colts have drafted first, they selected Manning in 98 and they selected Luck in 2012. So when they have the number one pick, they seem to pick the right quarterback. That's all been under Mr. Jim Irsay. So hopefully that can continue into the first round this year. I would do a lot to move up from 4 to 1.
As far as the Titans are concerned, I don't want to see them trade down. I don't want to see them trade up. I want them to pick the best available player at number 11 because they need that player, but I don't want to mortgage the future. I also don't want to go, oh, no, we're good. Let's trade back. The only way that changes in my mind is if they cut Tannehill and they have the ability to go up and grab a quarterback. Then, okay, I understand that. But don't trade up just to get to like the 8th spot. You don't trade down to like the 24th spot. I hate that, man. I hate when you're sitting there on draft night, pulling for your team. You're like, all right, let's go. What do you mean they traded out of the first round?
I was going to say the Colts did that one year and talk about a Thursday night damper. Like, come on, man.
Lions did it one year twice in the same first round. You're like, oh, dude, really? I stayed up for nothing. I literally stayed up for nothing.
Oh, that's sweet.
Absolutely terrible. It's not as bad back in the day when the first, I think it was the first 3 rounds were in the same day. It ticks you off now because the first round is the first night.
Yep.
So if you trade that first round, then the whole time there's that fan in you who still keeps staring at the screen going, well, maybe we'll trade back into the round. I don't want to miss it. And then the 32nd pick comes in and you're like, we didn't do it. Dog it.
I was one of those. Let me tell you a couple of times.
I mortgaged my sleep. My team got worse. God. Man, I hate sports. So, anyways, we'll move on to NFL. By the way, did you catch any of this stuff that I was talking about with the preseason college football top 10 or top 25?
I caught the tail end of you going through it, but I haven't really looked into much.
Real quick, Notre Dame's number 10. I don't hate that at all with Sam Hartman. And Notre Dame's always a little overranked.
Right.
But I think that feels right. I feel like that this team can come back, and year 2 with Marcus Freeman, I'll give him a chance, right? One of the issues that I have is TCU's number 6. Man, they're losing some dudes, and I know that they've done well in the transfer portal, but they're losing some dudes. Washington's number 5. Washington. Huskies.
Isn't their quarterback leaving? Or is he?
No, he, I believe, is staying at this point.
Okay.
I think he's trying to come back one more year to lift his draft stock.
Okie dokie.
Georgia's 1, which, look, how do you not put Georgia number 1 next year? How do you not? They didn't do it this year, but how do you not do it? There's gonna be some schlebs out there that are gonna give their number 1 votes to Alabama and whatnot, but Georgia should be number 1 next year. You're back-to-back national champions. To beat the man, or to be the man, you got to beat the man. You got to put the man up at number 1. Michigan 2, Ohio State 3, Penn State 7. I can't wait to get Tone's reaction on that on Friday. Clemson 9.
Seminoles in there?
Seminoles are down at 14. What? And I'm telling you right now, Florida State's going to win.
Top 10 team.
Florida State's going to win the ACC next year. I will be shocked if they don't. They got to get over that Clemson hurdle, but other than that, and they play LSU to start the season. I don't know if they took any of this into consideration. In Florida, it's not in Tallahassee, it's in Orlando, but they play LSU. Look, LSU is getting back their quarterback Daniels. He's coming back. But Florida State's bringing back like everybody.
My prediction is that I think Jordan Travis will be in the Heisman candidate room next year when they do all that stuff.
I definitely think he goes to the top of the board if he has a good game against LSU to start the season. But he's going to be on the short list to start the season. Well, they got Tennessee at 16, and that makes no sense. Tennessee they impressed me this year. Heupel took a huge leap, just like Norvell did, and you've got Tennessee at 16. Hooker's gone, but Milton didn't look like he missed a step.
He looked good.
And I really think Josh Heupel's offense is going to be one of those things wherever he is, however long he's at Tennessee, maybe he goes to the NFL, I don't know. But however long he is, it's going to be a system guy. And as long as he can get someone who doesn't stumble over their own shoestrings, they're going to put up big numbers. So I think Milton's going to be in that Heisman room next year. I think Travis will be in that Heisman room next year. How many more years does Stetson Bennett have?
Is he 30 yet?
I hear his AARP card just came in the mail. By the way, there was news on the Red Sox today. Trevor Story underwent successful elbow surgery today. So I thought they might sneak into the Carlos Correa talk, but that's not happening. Mr. Correa is heading to the Minnesota Twins, if you missed that story.
They must have missed our awards ceremony when I said the player I'm most sick of. Carlos Correa just keeps showing up everywhere. Gosh.
Well, if you're tired of Carlos Correa, Minnesota's a really good place for him to be.
Hey, man.
Good chance you are not going to see him for quite some time.
Very true.
They announced the college football college football Hall of Fame today, and 18 guys selected. Not going to go through all of them, but Reggie Bush, Tim Tebow, Eric Berry of the Vols, Stonebreaker of Notre Dame. That was always one of the greatest names in the history of college. You go to the College Football Hall of Fame just because of you're a linebacker at Notre Dame with the name of Michael Stonebreaker. Mark Richt gets in, Georgia Bulldogs. I know a lot of Georgia fans don't think he belongs in there, but Mark Richt goes to the Hall of Fame. Of course, he also coached for the Hurricanes. And Paul Johnson of Georgia Tech and Navy, he goes in. Now, you might have some, like, what is this guy? It is getting increasingly easier and easier and easier to get into all Hall of Fames, but the College Football Hall of Fame is up there with the Basketball Hall of Fame, where it's like, well, you played a few minutes that one year. Well, let's put you in.
The basketball one drives me crazy because people.
I'm waiting for them to put Willie Taggart in the Hall of Fame. I don't know what it is.
Who's next?
He's only 20 games under 500. Put him in. She's like, what? Paul Johnson was a head scratcher to me. I know he had a pretty good career at Navy. He was bad at Georgia Tech. Now, he had a couple of good years here and there, but he wasn't like, I mean, at least Mark Richt had his name in the hat a few times. The only thing that you could put, I don't even know if I'd put Paul Johnson in the Hall of Fame for what he did as far as wins and losses and whatnot. But I will say this, he should at least a mention as you go on in the Hall of Fame somewhere about the fact that he kind of revolutionized offense, taking it back about 70 years. Because you went from let's air it out, and then immediately Georgia Tech hires Paul Johnson and goes, air it out. Nah, man, nah.
High school football.
The only time the ball goes in the air here is when we punt it. Let's go. That's the only thing he did. Blitz. Funny thing was, though, I would always watch Georgia Tech games and pull for them because I do like the running football. I do. I'm a fan of it. I've always been. I always will be. You're not going to change my mind. But it doesn't work.
It is wild how many formations you can run it out of. Like this, how many plays you can run out of the same style. It was mind blowing to me as a kid seeing them play Notre Dame. It's be like, what the heck's going on? You don't see this often. And then they'd score like 14 points.
Right, exactly. Like they get a couple of big plays and you're freaking out, and then it gets shut down immediately. Right. Because you can't really prepare for it. We got to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to get into the NFL playoffs. It's 4:20. Smoke them if you got them. We'll be back in a flash.
Hi, it's Jamie, Progressive's Employee of the Month, 2 months in a row. Leave a message at the... Hi, Jamie. It's me, Jamie. I just had a new idea for our song about the Name Your Price tool. So when it's like, tell us what you want to pay, hey, 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 and the trombone goes, blah, 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 and you say, we'll help you find coverage options to fit your budget. Then we just all do finger snaps while a choir goes, savings coming at ya, savings coming at ya. Yes? No? Maybe? Anyway, see your practice tonight. I got new lyrics for the rap break.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state.
Hey, sports fans. Weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern. Drive time on WQEE. Braves Country is a Southern sports talk show with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. That's Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. Weekdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. right here on WQEE 99.1 FM.
It's time to live, laugh, and create memories again with MSC Cruises. Join us on some of the world's most modern and innovative ships. Discover again at our new private island, Ocean Key MSC Marine Reserve, named Best New Cruise Destination. Cruise the Caribbean and Bahamas from Miami or Port Canaveral. Book now with free balcony upgrades and flexible booking changes. Call your travel advisor or visit msccruises.com. Restrictions apply. MSC Cruises, a world of discovery.
Hey, sports fans.
The NFL playoffs are back, and that means the Armchair Quarterbacks kickoff show is back. Join Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks Wild Card Weekend and Divisional Round Weekend Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern to kickoff at 4:30 Eastern. The Armchair Quarterbacks will be talking the spreads, prop bets, over-unders, stupid underdogs, and the locks. That's the Armchair Quarterbacks kickoff show, streaming right here on Braves Country HD and our radio affiliates.
Hey folks, this is Mark White with The Mark White Show, and you can tune into The Mark White Show every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. right here on Rock 99, WQEE The Key, the home of Southern sports and talk.
Welcome back. Congratulations to the Georgia Bulldogs on back-to-back national championships. And for those of y'all not Georgia Bulldog fans, congratulations to us. It's over. That game was terrible, man. I'm talking about the season on football.
Halftime, I was tuned out.
I kept it on. I always do, man. I always keep those games on much longer. Whenever they scored that last one, 65-7, I turned it off around that time. But I mean, that was towards the end. I'd played some second half props, so I was looking to see if they were going to cover. I did get Georgia -7. I couldn't believe it. I was like, dude, TCU has not shown any semblance to be able to form anything, and you think they're going to outscore Georgia in this quarter now? I was trying to make back the fact that I had put a teaser. I went the other way, and I questioned myself all week. But I was going to go take Georgia on the teaser with the over. Instead, I went TCU because I wanted to get all those points, and it didn't matter. TCU was dead on arrival.
It was a dang shame because I felt like, even it was David versus Goliath, but you always hope for a good game on your Monday night stage, and that was just
look, Georgia's sitting on all cylinders, and the whole time. You're the average fan tuned in and probably said, "Are they playing the same sport?" Because I don't feel like they are. I feel like one of them's out there, with a rock fight, and the other one has a machine gun. Like I really feel like this is unfair.
And I saw you tweet about it, and I completely agreed on the people saying, "Why? This is why Alabama should be." It was making. First off, TCU won their first game. It's not like they just came in cold off the street. Playing in the playoff. They deserved it. They got a good win against Michigan. I don't get why these people are complaining about the playoff just because they laid an egg.
Alabama will tell you that they belong in the national title game if they're 6-6. We're more talented. I don't care. You got to win ball games. It comes down to wins and losses.
Correct.
One thing that was a little more fair about that BCS is that there was actual points, right? You could see it. And there wasn't none of this committee junk where they go hide in the room and they come out with, well, we're going to put this team and that team in. They would have, if they could have found a way, they would have put Alabama in the playoffs. But Alabama lost too many games. But Alabama keeps forgetting they have the same record as the University of Tennessee. And Tennessee beat them on the field.
Yes.
Alabama belong. I know Tennessee got boat raced in that one game against South Carolina, but hey, it's still a loss. A loss is a loss.
Correct.
If you beat, I'm sorry, but when it comes down to it, when it comes to these committees, when we get to the 12, and there's going to be a lot of debate, it really needs to come down to is if everything's equal and I beat you, I go, you stay home. Not if I'm 8-4 and you're 11-1, right?
It's like, what is it? Might as well not keep track of the record then. Might as well just evaluate talent.
Well, let's go and look at the 2019 recruiting map and see who the top 4 teams are. We'll put them in there. Just idiots.
Nonsense.
Just surrounded by idiots. All right, let's move on. NFL playoffs. It's really hard for me to focus on the NFL, but I talk so much about baseball. I feel like I've got to do some NFL because this Carlos Correa thing, I can't wait to turn on New York radio tomorrow morning. There's a show I always listen to. I can't wait to go wiggle, wiggle, because last week they were already fitting themselves for World Series rings. Monday, we were having to hide their shoestrings in their belts. We're like, better watch out for Mets fans. They're on suicide watch over here. All right, NFL playoffs. Let's get into this. Let's get into the gritty, the nitty gritty. We're doing a pretty fun thing this weekend. I'm just going to ask you. I'm just going to ask you for a team. We're doing a pretty fun thing this weekend because I know you're not going to be with us this Saturday for the show, correct?
Yeah, I'll be available the next.
Right. So, but you won't be this Saturday, right?
Correct.
Okay. So I want to double check before I ask you one because we're doing something this Saturday. It's going to be pretty fun. So what it's going to be is we're calling it a fake fan draft.
Okay.
And we're going to draft teams that we'll pull for, and it's going to be like a draft. So immediately Steven's going to get the Dolphins because he's a Dolphins fan.
Right.
But the rest of us, I'm pretty sure, don't have a team in the playoffs. So we're going to go become fake fans. And so it's really going to come down to who would you like to pull for? Who, if you had one pick in the fake fan draft, you had the number one pick, who would be the team that you're going to pull for to win it all?
Now, that's a fun one. You know what? I hate to. If Brian Cook, I know, is just on here recently, so I shouldn't be saying this, but I'm probably going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals. And the reason I say that is Mr. Joe Cool, Mr. Joe Burrow. I'm just a huge fan of him. If my team had the opportunity to have one quarterback from any quarterback in the National Football League, he would be my guy for many detailed reasons. It's a close race, I know, but I just like him a lot. I think he's on the next path.
Lord help us all. I said, Lord help us all. You pick the Bengals. You will be over there as you're tongue bathing Brian and whatnot.
If I would have picked Tampa Bay, I would be with my brother. It's no better.
Well, yeah. I guess it's better to give Brian a tongue bath than your own flesh and blood.
Can't be in the same DNA class.
I'm obviously not going to say who I'm going to pick because I'm going to wait till Saturday. But I definitely have a couple in mind that I really want. But I feel like that they're going to get taken unless I end up with one of the top picks. We're going to do a random drawing for it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be a lot of fun because it's going to be fun to talk about why am I pulling for this team, right? So, and we'll be doing everything on the Saturday kickoff show, 3 to 4:30 Eastern. We're going to be doing point spreads. We're going to do some DFS. We're going to do a lot of prop bets and just talk about what everybody cares about in the NFL playoffs. How do I make some money off this, man? Come on, let's go.
Get the money while you can. Only got a few weeks to go.
Absolutely. All right. The Saturday games, this will be the one that I'll be completely wrong on, but I don't feel like this Seahawks 49ers game is going to be anywhere close to being a ball game. But this will be where the one interesting thing to me about the NFL playoffs, as you look at these matchups, is you have, 3 games where this is the third time these teams are playing, and they're all rematches. The other 3 are all rematches. So all these teams are familiar with each other. The Seahawks are getting 9.5. The over-under is 43. So that's a low number for the spread to be that high. Typically, when you get a 9.5 point spread, it's at least in the upper 40s. What they're essentially saying is that the Seahawks are not going to move the ball.
Well, and after watching Week 17, we both kind of agreed last week the Rams had a shot. The Seahawks offense did not look good. They got help from the referees. San Fran's hot, and Seattle's not.
Hey, Metcalf not get a penalty put on him when he stuck it. I get that Jalen Ramsey deserved the extracurricular activity, right? Mm-hmm. But how do they not get offsetting flags? He stuck his finger and poked him, and then he kind of chest bumped him right in front of the ref. The ref comes running up, breaking it up. I tweeted out at the time. I don't know his name, but the back judge, his number was 27, and he was coming and breaking it up, but he didn't throw a flag. Coward, nothing but a coward. You got to throw a flag on that, because I get why Jalen, and look, the diehard Rams fans are going to tell you he didn't deserve a flag because he was kind of protecting himself because he was getting blocked and then he just kind of braced. But you're going to get a flag on that no matter what, right? Like, I went back and watched that, saw a couple of times. I was like, I get that, but you're going to get a flag at the NFL.
In full-time speed, you're calling that every time.
You're just gonna, right? Yeah. If it's a bar fight, you're going to say, I don't know, man, the other guy kind of started it. But if in the NFL and you're a quarterback, you're going to get the flag. The other one that night is Jaguars-Chargers. That line's gone down 1.5 since yesterday. So the Chargers were a favorite, a 1.5 point favorite in Duval. It is now a pick'em, which I find very interesting that folks are believing the Jaguars. And honestly, the Jaguars didn't look that great last Saturday.
Yeah, and at the same token,
that was not a fumble by Dobbs. That ball was still in his hand when it went forward. That was an incomplete pass. They got gifted one. They were at home, whatever. I didn't want to see Tennessee make the playoffs anyways because this is going to be a disaster. I don't know who we're going to play. The Chargers. I'm like, Josh Dobbs is not keeping up with freaking, Herbert. It would have been a really ugly game. If it was Titans, Chargers, we saw that a few weeks ago. It would have been a really ugly game. Jaguars, to me, have more of a chance of doing something. And I've actually got an outside chance of going to the game. I still haven't found out if I'm going to get a kitchen pass.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Things have to work out. They have to align right. But we've got a friend who's got box seats, but it really comes down to if my wife's going to be able to make it and all that kind of stuff. I've never been in a box seat, so I'll be like, the playoffs? That's wild.
And it seemed like an awesome atmosphere on Saturday night for being Jacksonville. Yeah. I watch a good amount of football games there, and that seemed to be more electric.
If I was up in the nosebleeds, I just think it'd be a lot of fun. I don't think it's going to be super cold either. It's going to be chilly, but it's bearable. But I find that interesting that what that tells you is that the betting public right now is putting money on Jacksonville.
Yeah, and we had the Mike Williams injury, which we got to follow closely. That will be interesting as the week goes on. I mean, I don't think they've made a status on him yet either.
I don't think he's going to play, do you?
I was going to say very doubtful. I mean, he's not a quick healer. We all know that.
The fact that he was out there playing that game is dumbfounding.
If you have an injury-prone player and you're an NFL head coach and you have nothing to play for, we're not talking about one seed up. We're not talking about winning your division. We're talking about nothing to play for. And you put in one of your better players who's injury-prone, the common sense isn't there. And if they lose this Saturday, I would not be shocked if we're talking about another head coaching opening.
I don't understand what he thought they had to gain. Baltimore had already lost. They were locked into the 5 seed. So you couldn't win or lose and change your seed. It's not like he had a bunch of guys he was trying to get rust off of, right? I'm with you. He needs to be fired. And he's done a lot of really screwy things over the last couple of years.
You took the words right out of my mouth. His decisions on 4th down were very skeptical last year, especially.
I don't see why he wouldn't get fired unless his team. I think you're right. His team's got to make a run.
Yep.
His team makes a run, they're going to say, "Hey, it worked." But if his team doesn't make a run, they're going to say, "Kick rocks, baby." Can you imagine them getting a hold of Sean Payton?
That's what. 2 for 2, Mick. You took the words right out of my mouth again.
Can you imagine that? I know there's been rumors. In fact, Bobby's hoping that Payton gets traded over to Arizona. I don't think he's going to do it. I think he's going to want a quarterback who's a student, and not a guy who's got to put Fortnite on pause because he says he's now involved in the head coaching decisions. What?
And with Sean Payton saying he wants stability starting from the top, if you're starting at the quarterback position, that's not much stability.
Hey, speaking of that, report coming from Schultz that the Cardinals are looking to trade DeAndre Hopkins in the offseason. So if that's the case, that means that he's probably barking about a trade. If that's the case, you're definitely not getting Sean Payton now.
He doesn't want to fully rebuild.
Commanders fire offensive coordinator Scott Turner. What about the rest of the staff?
What about the head coach?
Yeah, I mean, what about Ron Rivera? What's going on here?
Oh, what a debacle late in the season for them.
They just gonna slowly trickle out all the firings of the entire staff because Rivera. That's what he's going to do. He's going to try to. That's what it is. Ron Rivera's trying to bus roll his offensive coordinator. When Ron Rivera was in on the decision to start Carson Wentz what was it, week 17.
Yep. After bashing him at the beginning of the year, just complete hypocrisy.
Sam Howell looked pretty darn good, didn't he?
He did.
Mike Williams, the most recent thing, that's what I was looking at. Mike Williams is considered day-to-day. He's going through treatment. It doesn't help him that it's a short week too. And I don't think I put it on our flash, but Roquan Smith signed a 5-year extension with the Ravens today.
Yeah, he got paid.
Everyone normally does, except for me.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, man. I wish I'd have knew how to catch one of these balls, throw one of these balls. Wish I came from better stock.
Or, yeah, if I stopped drinking beer a few years ago, that could have helped a little.
An entire uncoordinated family. I'm sadly probably one of the better athletes in my family, and I ain't saying nothing. John Ross to sign a futures deal with the Chiefs. That's interesting. I haven't heard that name in a hot minute.
He was actually a funny thing on him real quick. I saw he was the draft pick right before or right after Mahomes. So that was interesting. Clearly didn't work out for the team drafting him.
Yeah, he was that was a swing and a miss, and everyone thought that he was going to be elite.
Yep, I remember that.
I feel like he had one, maybe two decent seasons, but you know what? He's going to go to the Chiefs, and he'll probably become an 800, 900-yard receiver.
Fit right in.
That ring around the rosy junk that they did, man. Did you see the quote from I can't remember the guy's name right now, but Denver Bronco offensive lineman saying how much he hates the Chiefs, and after he saw that what they did to the Raiders, like he can't wait to play them next year and all this junk. And I'm like, dude, I don't know who you are, but you're probably going to get freaking canned. Everyone on that Denver Bronco offense is probably going to be getting a pink slip. We got to take a real quick break. When we come back, excuse me, we're going to do our locks and look ahead to Sunday's games. We'll be back in a flash. It'll be a short one. Be back in about 90 seconds here on WQE.
Here's good news. There's still a need for hundreds of thousands of cybersecurity professionals in the U.S. right now. And My Computer Career is training people to help meet the demand. No IT experience? No problem. Take the free career evaluation today. Start your new life as an IT pro in as little as 4 months. Grants covering up to 53% of the cost are available to those who qualify. It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu.
The NFL playoffs are back, and that means the Armchair Quarterbacks kickoff show is back. Join Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks Wild Card Weekend and Divisional Round Weekend Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern to kick off at 4:30 Eastern. The Armchair Quarterbacks will be talking the spreads, prop bets, over-unders, stupid underdogs, and the locks. That's the Armchair Quarterbacks kickoff show, streaming right here on Braves Country HD and our radio affiliates.
Shenyang, a performance that truly matters to every one of us, is coming to the Columbus River Center for the Performing Arts, January 17th, one night only. Shenyang brings 5,000 years of civilization live on stage through choreographed dance, music combining Western and Chinese instruments in an animated backdrop. Come and see it at least once in your lifetime. Tickets at shenyang.com/GA.
Welcome back. Georgia Bulldogs, back-to-back national champions. For those of y'all not Georgia fans, that'll be the last time we'll play that this season. But I do feel like when you win national championship, you deserve all the love, right? So
absolutely.
And look, whether you're a fan of the Bulldogs or not, what a cool story Stetson Bennett is. I do feel like ESPN's going to beat it to death like they do with everything else, but a really cool story. But the NFL playoffs are here as we turn the page. And I was looking at the break. I couldn't find anything on Tua. That is going to be the biggest difference on whether that game's competitive or not on Sunday. Dolphins getting 9.5, and it wasn't. That's low. Tua doesn't play.
Oh, if they don't have the right quarterback in the game there, meaning Tua Tagovailoa, we saw them struggle a plethora of amount between the other quarterbacks. In Buffalo, they played a few weeks ago in Buffalo. It was a good game because of Tua. That would be the difference. It would be a blowout if he does not play by 17 or 21.
The over-under right now is 46, and it's got to be, and the line's 9.5, and it's got to be because folks feel like he's not going to play. If you have a strong feeling, then you think that the Dolphins are going to play Tua.
Get the over.
Man, hit the line right now. 9.5 points with Tua. They probably should have won that game a few weeks ago in Buffalo, that Saturday night game. And they did win the game down in Miami. If it comes out tomorrow or Thursday, most likely, Tua Tagovailoa is going to play. That line is going to pull it off the board immediately, and then it's going to go down to about 3 or 4 points. It might go to 6, but it's at least getting below a touchdown. If you really think, if you're heart of hearts, like, I think Tua is going to play, I would grab the 9.5, and at this point, I would probably buy a point to get myself to 10.5. I've already played a lot of straight ups and teasers because I like some of the lines and I want to get them now before they get affected by some stuff. I don't think he's going to play.
I don't either.
And I think when he doesn't play, I think that line's going to go up. So I did grab Buffalo on a teaser. But if I'm wrong, it's going to get sticky wicket because you can go,
like you said, if you have a strong inkling, don't hesitate. It's the time right now.
Same deal. Other game, Ravens Bengals. If Lamar Jackson plays, that line should be 7 points. If Lamar Jackson doesn't play, I feel like 7 is too low.
Yeah, and on that one, I kind of feel strong about Lamar. It's just my hunch. It's not reports or anything, so nobody take me word for word. But I have a feeling Lamar is going to play. I feel like he's the type of player who won't miss this game. So I would be taking the 7 points right now and just hop on it.
See, I've got a feeling that he's not going to play, and the reason why is I think he's actually being smart, and I think he is knowing that he's a free agent, he's going to try to play hardball. I have not seen anything on that, by the way.
That's what I'm saying. It seems all I heard was Harbaugh say that, he doesn't really have any updates and there's more to look into. It's like, well, if there's more to look into with his injury, he's probably not going to play. But like I said, I don't know. It's a playoff game. It's so tough to say.
The only thing that I find, I don't even know if this is a reputable source, but I don't even know what the heck I just clicked into. Never mind, I'm out of here. It was an article on Twitter, and kept asking me to do stuff. I was like, nah, I'm good, man.
That dang Twitter machine.
Yeah. The only thing that I'm seeing on Twitter right now is a bunch of speculation. Nothing. And the biggest thing is I have not seen where he's practicing. If he's not practicing, that line's not big enough.
Practice?
You're talking about practice. That line is not big enough. And that's why I grabbed it on. Now I grabbed it with 6.5. I grabbed it on a teaser because even if he plays, he hasn't played in almost at that point. It'll be close to 6 weeks. And we saw what Russ can do to you. Look what Jalen Hurts looked like after 4 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it was.
Yeah, the Ravens are in a tough spot because with their current quarterback play, they're not going to get past Cincinnati. And if Lamar struggles, they're not going to get past Cincinnati. So tough sledding.
And if it ends up being Anthony Brown again, like Tyler Huntley kind of gives you a puncher's chance because he can make some plays. But if it ends up being Anthony Brown again, that offense is a no-go. Now, I will say this. I believe that Harbaugh's probably playing possum, and he didn't show them everything because he didn't believe he could really win that game. And so why unload everything, whereas Cincinnati really wanted to win the game because they wanted to host the game? But he's going to use all those little things that Cincinnati did in the game as fuel. If you watch the game, you watch the highlights, and some of the, the celebration where Mixon pulled the quarter out of his sock and did the coin flip.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny. I
did too.
But he's going to use that as, what they called bulletin board material. For anyone under the age of 60, what that means is there used to be a bulletin board in locker rooms, and you would take these things called newspapers and clip them out and put them up there and say, look what this jerk said. And it was a thing back in the day. When I was growing up and first became a fan of football, I can always remember they would talk about it where all the coaches would have cork boards, and they would put it was right there as you walked in the locker room. And if someone said something stupid in the papers, it would be up there the next day. Now I guess they just send you a link.
Yeah, I was going to say everyone get a team text.
Before we hit our locks, the game that I just don't have a feeling for, and I'm so on the fence with, but I kind of want to take the points, is this Giants-Vikings game. Because you think Minnesota should be able to blow them out of the water, right? But why are they only a 3-point favorite? And the last time they played was just a few weeks ago. They won by 3. It was in Minnesota, so none of that has changed. It's usually hard to beat a team. Two good teams go at it back-to-back like that. And Minnesota plays so many tight games. And if Minnesota does win this game, I feel like it's going to be like 28-27. What's your feeling on it? Because I can't get a strong intuition on it, but that's just the way I feel.
Yeah, for me personally, I probably wouldn't bet the game because Minnesota is just so unpredictable. I could see them going out there on Sunday and, putting up 30 points and they play a decent game. Or I could see Kirk Cousins having 3-4 turnovers and it's either a loss or an ugly win. The Giants are a well-coached team. They're not going to come into this game unprepared. If I had to make a choice, I'm going to be more comfortable taking the Giants and the points rather than Minnesota and give them up.
Logically, if you go from the offensive standpoint, Minnesota has so many mismatches, right? But their defense stinks.
The Indianapolis Colts, led by Matt Ryan, got 30 points. It's so bad.
And one of the biggest Minnesota Viking fans that I know has no faith in him this week. He's already turning the page. He's getting ready for the draft. And I'm like, dude, you're 13-4. You're at home. You're going up against Daniel Jones, for crying out loud. You got a chance. Midway through the argument, I was like, why am I trying to convince you that a 13-4 Viking team with Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, Kirk Cousins at home, I got to convince you that they can beat Daniel Jones? And not that Barkley, and I dare the average man off the street to name 2 more players.
And not that it matters. It was just wild to me seeing the statistic that Minnesota would have the biggest margin of wins and losses if you flip their one-score games around. They were in so many close games this year, and obviously they won them, so it doesn't matter. But if they lost those games, they would be like one of the best picks in the NFL draft right now. So it's going to be an interesting game on Sunday.
Minnesota actually gave up more points than they scored this year, and yet somehow they're 13-4.
Unbelievable.
I saw the stat. I wish I'd have jotted it down, but basically they were top 3, top 5 in point differential. And that to me says, now one of the reasons is, if you remember, they've had some really bad losses. I mean, really bad losses. Remember they got blown up by the Cowboys? Remember the Packers blew them out just a couple of weeks ago, 41-17. The Lions beat them by 10. Wasn't there another one where they got the Eagles manhandled them 24-7?
interesting statistic. The Minnesota Vikings are only one of two playoff teams to have a negative point differential. The other, obviously, being Tampa Bay, as they were under 500. Everybody else point differential is 100 points or better that won their division. So Minnesota and Tampa Bay not good on that note.
So last week helped them. They're now at a differential of -3.
Yep.
But before that game, that must have been when I saw the stat. There was a big differential.
Thank you, Nate Peterman, Chicago Bears.
Man, guess who's got the worst point differential in all the league?
Well, if I'm on with you and my Jeff Saturday Colts got crushed by many second halves, I see that it is even worse than Houston. It's the Indianapolis Colts.
-138. Barely. The Bears -137.
Oh, yeah, I didn't go to the other conference. Bears were close.
and then the Bears 137, and then the Texans 131. And then there's a huge drop off. You don't have anyone anywhere close to that. Even the Buccaneers -45. That's ridiculous. What is your lock of the day, sir?
My lock of the day, after looking all day on BetUS, trying to figure out what I want to do here, going to take it to the NBA. The Utah Jazz are +2.5 tonight on their home court against Cleveland. I actually saw Utah in person last week. Lauri Markkanen, I mean, I don't know what he was doing wrong on the Bulls all those years, but that dude looks like a stud. And I have to rebound after my lock last week went against yours, and I got totally embarrassed by the Boston Celtics. I riddled in my own tears as they blew out Dallas by 40. So give me.
I saw that, man. Oh. I almost tweeted you to mess with you. I was like, oh.
I was thinking you text me.
To get them. I tried to tell you, and you're like, "Oh, go all in." And I'm like, okay, here we go. And I was part of that game, and I was like, at no point did I ever feel like, oh, they can make a run.
It was so trash.
My lock is Ohio on the money line versus Ball State tonight on a -125. Trying a thing. We'll see if it works out. I'm trying a thing with college basketball. Let's see if it works out, but that is my lock.
I got to start watching a little more college ball. I haven't watched much yet to this point this season.
I'm going off of something else, and it's so crazy. If it starts to work, I'll let you know how I came up with it.
Please do.
But if it doesn't, then I'm just going to kick it in the trash. Knowing me, I'm probably going to give it one day, and if this doesn't work, then I'll just throw it in the trash.
At least you tried.
Exactly. What is your walk-off, sir?
My walk-off is everyone get their, things out of the way now. If you got errands to run as a family man, husband, or a girlfriend or something, do everything this week. Clear your schedule for the NFL slate because wildcard weekend is here, and it is coming fast.
My walk-off, we'll be back tomorrow, obviously, 3 to 5 here on the Key and also on Braves Country HD. Saturday, remember, we're going to be doing the kickoff show here on Braves Country HD. It's called Armchair Quarterbacks, but it's the kickoff show. It's something we've been doing for a long time. Looking forward to that. And also tonight, if you're looking for something to watch, unload your DVR, because I looked at the slate for the NBA on TNT tonight. It is brutal. The early game is Oklahoma City and Miami.
Oh my goodness.
What year do they think this is?
Miami has people out. Thunder stink. Oh my goodness.
We got to go. Great job, Joey. We'll see you Thursday.
Adios, amigo.
Goodbye, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. We're back tomorrow with another show. Well, unless we're fired, we'll talk to you then. Goodbye, sweetheart. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Guys and gals, it's time to go. We'll see you on the next show.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Thanks for listening to Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks on 99.1 FM WQEE The Key in Noonan, Georgia, and simulcasting on youtube.com/@BravesCountry. Braves Country comes your way weekdays 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern. Please follow, like, and subscribe today. Armchair Quarterback Radio, your first choice for Southern sports.
Something of the 5th of September. Something of the 5th of September. She said a lot that I can't remember. Something of the 5th. Can I get another cigarette, please? Can I get another cigarette, please? Yeah, I know I live to regret it. Just give me another cigarette, please.
You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia.
Are you looking for a reliable dental practice that not only cares about your teeth, but is friendly to work with? How about one that offers great deals and new patient promotions? Well, your search is over. Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton, Georgia is committed to giving you the biggest and brightest smile. Right now, get a $99 new patient special, including x-rays and exam. Maybe you're looking for veneers. Most Valuable Smiles veneer special includes 1 free veneer with every 5 purchased. Or get that bright white smile you've always wanted by taking advantage of an exclusive $100 off Zoom whitening treatment when you book today. And don't forget that